They are, quote, private attorneys. Will that be enough? We have analysis on whether the revised indictment will satisfy the High Court's ruling, a decision that is ultimately so broad and deferential. One of the dissenting justices is reiterating her concerns for the future. Here is Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson sitting down with CBS News.
I was concerned about a system that appeared to provide immunity for one individual under one set of circumstances, when we have a criminal justice system that had ordinarily treated everyone the same.
We also have yet more fresh video from January 6th. This just-released clip of then-Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking the day after the attack, blaming the violence and chaos right on Donald Trump.
There is a domestic enemy in the White House. And let's not mince words about this.
Joining me now, NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney and NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard and former U.S. Attorney and law professor Barbara McQuaid. All right, Ken, walk us through the differences between this indictment and the last one.
So this is obviously a pared-down version of the same allegations, Katie. 45 pages down to 36 pages. And it's important to note, it accuses Donald Trump of the same three criminal conspiracies that the original indictment did. That's conspiracy to defraud the United States, to obstruct Congress, and to deprive millions of Americans of their vote. The biggest thing Smith removed from the original, as you mentioned, is the entire section describing how Trump pressured the Justice Department to launch bogus investigations and make false declarations of fraud. And that's no surprise, because the Supreme Court actually said in its opinion that communications with the Justice Department were clearly official acts by a president and therefore immune from prosecution. Smith also removed other allegations involving Trump's dealings with advisors in the Oval Office and other federal officials, but he kept in Trump's conversations with state officials, which is most of the original indictment. Smith also removed some Trump tweets because the Supreme Court seemed to say that statements by a president are usually official acts. Now, Smith did not remove allegations that Trump committed crimes by pressuring then Vice President Mike Pence to delay the certification of votes on January 6th. And the theory there seems to be that Pence was acting as president of the Senate and Trump was acting as a candidate, so this was not a president communicating with his vice president. Of course, Trump's lawyers can be expected to challenge that. In fact, they're likely to argue that most of the allegations still standing were, in fact, official acts and should be struck.
Yeah, Barbara, take that a little deeper, and let's focus on the Pence stuff, because Pence is his vice president. How strong is the argument that Jack Smith is making in this indictment to say that they can overcome the presumption of immunity here?
Yeah, this is the one that is probably going to be the trickiest. I imagine Judge Chutkan is going to schedule a hearing and will examine all of these allegations. Most of the conduct relating to Trump as candidate seems fair game for prosecution. But this one has an overlap. As Ken said, it frames this allegation in terms of Mike Pence as president of the Senate. But what the court said in its opinion is that they would protect anything that might intrude upon the president's constitutional duties as the executive. And so to the extent that Mike Pence also served as vice president in the executive branch, there is some risk of that intrusion. So I imagine this will be heavily litigated. But I can see why Jack Smith wants this in. This really is the heart of the whole case, getting Mike Pence to block the certification. It's a very important part of the narrative, I think. And so they'll litigate it and they'll figure out whether this is in or out.
But Chief Justice, in the majority opinion on this case, wrote that whenever the president and the vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct. It seems like it's going to be a high burden to meet to overcome that presumption of immunity. If they're not able to, does Jack Smith have a case without the conversations with Vice President Mike Pence?
I think so, and you're right. I think this is going to be litigated. We're going to see a decision on this probably ultimately by the Supreme Court. Even without the Mike Pence evidence, however, I think the narrative is a little less complete, but there is still evidence of Donald Trump, allegations of Donald Trump pressuring state officials to change their slate of electors, organizing fake slates of electors, and exploiting the chaos at the Capitol even after the attack took place. And so that still puts together, I think, a fairly compelling case. It's just, one arm tied behind their back as they proceed.
Ken, what about the timing? Why file this today or yesterday?
Well, the two sides have until Friday to submit proposals for how to move forward in this case. And what comes next are likely a series of hearings, as Barbara said, hashing out disputes over what parts of this case can survive. And ultimately, Judge Chutkan will rule on all of that. But it's important to note, either side can appeal that ruling all the way up to the Supreme Court before the trial. So that means that even if Trump loses, this trial will be a long way off. We're talking months, maybe even more than a year. Katie.
All right, we're going to have to wait for an election before then. So how is Donald Trump responding to the superseding indictment, the recasting of this indictment, these charges against him?
Overnight, he called it election interference. He called it a direct attack on democracy. But I think more importantly for our conversation, Katie, just in the last 2 hours, he has posted a flurry of vengeful memes on his Truth Social account. Memes that I think we have a couple of them that we can pull up here, I think that are very quite explicit. You have one, AI images of his perceived enemies. You see Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Fauci, Bill Gates in orange jumpsuits with the text, how to actually fix the system. You have another one where you see Jack Smith. You see, I think actually, I'm going to call up the one that we are looking at right now. You see the words indict, sedition, and lock them up from the January 6th Select Committee. And then you've got another one. You see there Jack Smith with the text, quote, he should be prosecuted for election interference and prosecutorial misconduct. A fourth one that I want people to see. You have President Obama with the text that calls for, quote, public military tribunals of Obama and others. There's a flurry of others. There's others that are QAnon themed. This is Donald Trump just in the last 2 hours.
We'd have to do digging. It doesn't seem like these are posted by real people. Just the handles with the emojis on them and the quality of these AI images. You wonder if it's an individual somewhere that's actually posting this and creating this stuff all on their own, or if it's done by a bot or some other agency that wants to influence things. But put that aside.
Right.
This is the former president reposting images of his opponents, political opponents in prison, and not just political opponents, big business leaders like Bill Gates.
And Donald Trump says a lot. He posts a lot on this Truth Social account. Last month, he called for public military tribunals of Liz Cheney here. So on one hand, this isn't new, but we're 2 months out from an election. And this, for anybody to suggest that retribution is not on Donald Trump's mind, go to his social media account, because this is where he has direct control over what he can post and repost. And when I talk about 2 months out, you know, Donald Trump is laying the groundwork, Katie, claiming election interference, saying that Google is already having election interference. The superseding indictment yesterday from Jack Smith is election interference. The gag order in the upcoming sentencing in Lower Manhattan here from Judge Merchan is election interference. He's calling the fake AI images that he claimed Kamala Harris posted of her crowds, which of course were not fake. He said that those were election interference and that she should be disqualified. Donald Trump is laying the foundation for claiming that the 2024 election was stolen. And while the focus could very well be on the indictment that Jack Smith has brought before him for election interference of the last case, Donald Trump clearly is looking towards the future.
It's not just those around him that are saying that his opponent should be prosecuted. It's not just Steve Bannon coming out and ranting about it on a podcast. This is Donald Trump reposting things. It's him saying it with his own words, flirting with the possibility. I keep thinking back to something that David Frum wrote months ago before there was any debate scheduled between anybody, before the Biden and Trump debate, the idea that there would be two candidates on stage and they would be treated as both legitimate and both equal. They'd be talking about economics and food prices, while one of those candidates tried to overturn an election, denied that there was a free and fair election, and still continues to do so. The root level discomfort with equating that or making it on the same level as talking about, you know, policy agendas for the next White House, things as mundane but as important as the economy, likening that or making it on equal footing with a guy that tried to stay in office when the voters kicked him out. Vaughn Hilliard, Ken Delaney, and Barbara McQuaid. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys very much. In 90 seconds, we'll head to southern Georgia, where Vice President Harris's campaign hopes to gain new support in a critical swing state. You're watching MSNBC.
They get it. They know how it works. And most importantly, it works for them.
I don't have any anxiety about money anymore.
I don't have to worry
about a mortgage payment every month.
It allowed me to live in my home and not have to make payments.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, you could access a portion of your equity to improve your lifestyle. A reverse mortgage loan can eliminate your monthly mortgage payments and put tax-free cash in your pocket.
It was the best thing I've ever done. And
Really?
yes, without a doubt.
These folks know. Finance of America can show you how a reverse mortgage loan uses your built-up home equity to give you tax-free cash.
It's a good thing.
So look, why don't you get the facts like these folks did and see if a reverse mortgage could work for you?
Call Finance of America and get your free info kit.
Call 800-963-9445.
When we started feeding Bogey, the farmer's dog, he lost so much weight. Pre-portioned packs makes it really easy to keep him lean and healthy.
In the morning, he flies up the stairs and hops up on my bed. In the past, he would not have been able to do any of those things.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us. And a great deal on Galaxy Z Fold 6 for a total value of $1,250. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Riding high on a wave of post-convention enthusiasm, the Harris-Walz campaign hits the road in southeast Georgia today. The latest polls show Donald Trump leading Kamala Harris by 4 points in the battleground state, though that is within the margin of error. But instead of focusing on running up the numbers in bluer districts like DeKalb, Gwinnett, Fulton, or Cobb, the Harris-Walz campaign is going south, pitching voters in the redder parts of the state. NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memley is in Savannah for us. That's where the bus tour will be ending. Lucky you, Mike. But bring us behind. I'll leave that aside. Bring us behind the scenes and talk to me about this decision to get out of the safe spaces of Georgia.
Well, Katie, the strategy is really interesting. This statistic floored me. You know, you're used to, as a fellow campaign reporter, traveling not just to the same small handful of states, but often the same parts of the same states. And Georgia's only recently in play. President Biden was the first Democrat to win it since Bill Clinton. But the campaign says that when Vice President Harris touches down here in Savannah this afternoon, she will be the first general election candidate to hold an event in Savannah since the 1990s. Think about that. So this is the strategy of you want to win, of course, a statewide plurality of the vote. And to do so, you can run up the score in Democratic areas, including those counties you mentioned surrounding the Atlanta area. That's where President Biden campaigned 4 years ago. Or you can also try to eat into the Republican margins all over the state. And that's what the Harris campaign, says it's going to be trying to do today. They're, yes, going to be reaching out to some of their base voters. There's a significant black population here in southeast Georgia that they think they can mobilize. But they're also going to be reaching out to rural voters, middle-class voters, those in the swing zone that they think they can eat into Trump's overall margin in the state. And so the campaign is not just putting the candidate here. They say they've been spending resources here. They have coordinated offices throughout the state, including here in southeast Georgia. They've been doing events here with surrogates, with their campaign team on the ground as well. And so this is an effort with the bus tour to even reach more parts of this area than just doing one big rally, which, of course, the vice president will also be doing here tomorrow night.
Mike Memley, thank you very much. And joining me now, Savannah Mayor Van Johnson. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. A pleasure.
So what do you think of this move to go outside of, as I said before, these safer blue districts in Georgia, bluer districts?
Well, let's be really clear. Savannah is reliably blue. Chatham County is reliably blue. But I think it's really more speaks to the vice president's attitude that at the end of the day, we're one big tent. After the election, you have to speak to the needs of everyone. And the Vice President Harris speaks to the needs of people in Savannah and our partners in coastal Georgia. The road to the White House goes through Georgia, and the lane to that road goes through Savannah, goes through coastal Georgia. We know that she's been engaged heavily in rural hospitals, which is important to our neighbors in and around us. Certainly the farmers, helping them, $3.1 billion to invest in farmers across rural Georgia. She speaks to the issues that are important to us, and we're just excited that she's coming.
What are the issues, the top issues that you think she should be talking about?
Well, it is always the economy. It is the economy. The reality is, although we have indicators that say that things are better, many Americans just don't feel like it. Stuff is still too high. It costs too much for places to live and for health care. And she speaks directly to those issues. How do we deal with resiliency in a coastal city like Savannah that deals every year with even more and more significant rain and wind events? How do we deal with individuals being able to grow up and be able to go to college and live their best lives and live their best dreams? She understands us. She gets us. And so we're excited to have her here because she speaks to the needs of Savannah and coastal Georgia.
Abortion, is that going to be a big issue for voters who are not Democrats in Georgia, but who are independents in Georgia or moderate Republicans in Georgia?
It is a huge issue. At the end of the day, healthcare decisions should be made by a woman and their doctor, not a woman, her doctor, and the government. The reality is we should not be a part of that. I know Georgians, I know Savannahans were outraged with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. She was just here. Vice President Harris was just here in February on her reproductive freedoms tour. So this is actually the second time she's been here in 6 months. Love is an action word. It's one thing to say you love you. It's something different to show up twice, and she's done that.
I love that. I'm going to say that to my husband. Love is an action word. You better show up with flowers one of these days.
Tell him to bring you to Savannah. Tell him to bring you to Savannah. That's what.
That would be great. I will tell him that. Let me read a quote from you. You might enjoy this quote. This is from the chairman of the Gwinnett County Republican Party. He said replacing Biden with Harris has been good for the Democrats. Quote, I was very, very comfortable that it would be not an easy win, but it would be a 4 or 5 point win. I think it's going to be a little tighter now because I think she's energized a few of the Democrats that were not energized before, and they seem to be a little bit more active. So is this going to come down to energized Democrats, or does she need to find more than that?
It comes down to energized Democrats, but it also comes down to speaking to Republicans who are tired of the juvenile behavior of the other candidate, of the mean-spiritedness, of the threats to our democracy, the thoughts that we're not patriotic because we're Democrat, and then also independent people who, might vote another way, but on this day and this race, that they will go in there and they'll vote for the person that best represents their interests, who won't embarrass them, and who certainly is not a felon.
Are you concerned about the new rules put in place by the Georgia Election Board?
Of course I am. It's like you play the whole season, and then before the World Series, you change the rules. And again, this is something we've dealt with here in Georgia, despite the fact that it's been proven conclusively time and time again that there were no widespread voter fraud here, yet the rules keep changing. We have to fight, and when we fight, we win. And we're going to fight, and we're going to fight by showing up at the ballot box.
It's a reasonable inquiry to put things in. Do you know what that means? Is there a limit to that? Do you know what a reasonable inquiry would not be regarding ballots?
A reasonable inquiry would be once you ask the question, and the question has been answered, and there's supporting documentation, and then you refuse. But beyond that, that's reasonable. When you keep questioning the result, when you keep questioning the inquiry, at some point it just goes from being reasonable to being absurd. And so we are living in a time of absurdity. We have 4 years into the Biden-Harris administration, and there are people still talking about what happened in 2020, which in my mind is absolutely absurd. The fact is that Joe Biden is our president, Kamala Harris is our vice president, and I was an elector in Georgia, one of the 16 that got to cast that historic vote. And the fact is that, we're moving on. We have moved on from that, and we need to move on.
Mayor Van Johnson of Savannah, Georgia, thank you very much for joining us.
We look forward to having you and your husband here in Savannah.
I'm going to give you a call when I come down. All right, coming up next, how new Israeli military operations in the West Bank could impact ceasefire talks and efforts to free hostages in Gaza. You're watching MSNBC.
Did you know your skin barrier is more receptive to skincare at night? Olay Super Serum Night Repair delivers 5 benefits in one. Visibly renewing surface skin cells while you sleep. You'll see visible results in 7 nights. Olay.
Did you know you could save with GoodRx even if you have insurance?
I'm on Medicare. I check GoodRx because it can beat my copay. Who wouldn't like that?
Even if you have insurance, GoodRx can help you save. Another good reason to check GoodRx.
The UPS store is more than just a shipping store. We're the pack it, ship it, guarantee it store. We know running a small business takes a lot of grit and hustle. So we're the stress less store and the we've got your back store. Because when you trust us to pack it and ship it, we guarantee it. So it'll get into the hands of your customers safely. Which is why we're the stand by our work guaranteed store. Come into the UPS store today and be unstoppable.
Introducing Allison's Black Psoriasis. She thinks her flaky gray patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. Over here. Otezla can help you get clearer skin and reduce itching and flaking with no routine blood tests required. Doctors have been prescribing Otezla for over a decade. Otezla is also approved to treat psoriatic arthritis. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla had depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
With clear skin, girls' day out is a good day out. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla.
Tamara, Izzy, and Emma. They respond to emails with phone calls. And they don't circle back. They're already there. They wear business sneakers and pad their keyboards with something that makes their clickety-clacking clickety-clackier. But no one loves logistics as much as they do. You need Tamara, Izzy, and Emma. They need a retirement plan. Work with Principal so we can help you with a retirement and benefits plan that's right for your team. Let our expertise round out yours.
I'm getting vaccinated with Pfizer's pneumococcal pneumonia vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
Come on. I already got a pneumonia vaccine, but I'm asking about the added protection of Prevnar 20.
If you're 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Prevnar 20 is approved in adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most common side effects were pain and swelling at the injection site, muscle pain, fatigue, headache, and joint pain.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
I don't want to risk ending up in the hospital with pneumococcal pneumonia.
That's why I chose Prevnar 20.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about the Pfizer vaccine for pneumococcal pneumonia.
Today, where you work isn't as important as how you work. And if you're sitting all day, there is a better way. That's why we created the original Vera desk. It lets people all over the world work happier and healthier.
Our newest desks are designed for workday comfort, with a rounded front edge for your arms and wrists. They're sturdy because they ship with the welded frame already attached, and they assemble in just minutes, thanks to the patented leg system. They're backed by an industry-leading lifetime warranty. So it's the last desk you'll ever need to buy. Ordering is easy and shipping is free. And if you don't love your desk, you can return it for any reason within 30 days.
So invest in the best for your home and your health. Save up to 30% during our standing desk sale at Very.com.
Israel launched the largest military operation in the occupied West Bank in at least 20 years today, with airstrikes and deadly ground raids in what the government calls a large-scale counterterrorism operation. Palestinian health authorities say at least 9 people were killed. Israel's foreign minister said the operation was part of a, quote, full-fledged war, and that the IDF was stamping out Iranian terrorist infrastructures. Meanwhile, the Bedouin father of 11, who was held hostage for 326 days before being rescued from a Hamas tunnel yesterday, left the hospital today. A little bit of good news there. Joining us now is retired Admiral James Stavridis, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Thank you for being with us. We keep saying this is a region on edge and tensions keep flaring, but it's been somewhat contained despite that. Do you see this as maintaining this current level of simmering containment, or are we headed somewhere else?
I think we're going to be okay, okay being defined as this is not going to explode into a wider war, Katie. But the operations now being conducted in the West Bank kind of draw a line under the fact that Israel is facing terrorism from Hamas in Gaza, from Hezbollah to the north, and all the way from down in the Red Sea by Houthis. This is yet another axis of threat for the Israelis. And the second point to be made here is the Iranian connection. Looming over all of these threats to Israel is the specter of Iran. And that, I think, is why the Israelis are very focused on getting into the West Bank and rooting it out to the degree they can.
What is the, I guess, political damage of them doing this? I understand they're arguing there is a safety need to go in there, but what is the political damage of them doing this at this moment?
It's tactically significant. What I mean by that is, even as the Biden administration continues to try with immense energy to get these ceasefire talks landed, here's yet another obstacle that'll be thrown in the face of it. Because let's face it, Katie, you can get to a ceasefire conceivably in Gaza, but step two is governance, is turning it over to somebody. That's ultimately got to be the Palestinian Authority. And when you're the Israelis and you're attacking inside the West Bank against targets in the vicinity of the Palestinian Authority, just going to be much more difficult to breathe life into the ceasefire and, above all, to get to that next step beyond the initial ceasefire.
How do you read Benjamin Netanyahu right now? There are folks within Israel, former prime ministers, who are writing really scathing op-eds saying that he doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants this to erupt into a wider war because he wants to be seen as the Winston Churchill of Israel. They say that his future and his ambitions are so tied to this war that he can't be trusted to be in charge of it.
I agree with that assessment, which is to say, from all that I can see, what Benjamin Netanyahu has done initially responding to the attacks against Hamas, quite understandable. But the way in which this now goes on and on and on, the level of strikes, for example, launched against Hezbollah to the north, 100 Israeli aircraft pounding away up there. Add to that going into the West Bank in the middle of what ought to be a period to try and close the ceasefire. When you put all that together, that's not the defiance of a Winston Churchill. That's somebody looking for a fight. And I think it is tied to domestic political concerns and legal ones that the prime minister has.
So Ehud Olmert, one of the former prime ministers, I'll bring up his op-ed in particular, is arguing that Netanyahu is so not to be trusted and will not come to a ceasefire agreement. And because of that, what needs to happen is that his government needs to step down. And these are the people that you wouldn't want to step down. He wants Yoav Gallant to step down. He wants Benny Gantz to step down, walk away from the government to, I guess, make a point to the Israeli public that this isn't working any longer and to put Benjamin Netanyahu under more duress. Is that a good idea, given who he's currently aligned himself with already? That is the far, far right in Israel?
I think that ultimately the Netanyahu government is going to fall. Benny Gantz has already left it. I know him well. He was their chief of defense when I was in charge of U.S.-Israeli military-to-military cooperation. He's already voted with his feet. I think the key individual that the former prime minister is really directing this toward is Yoav Gallant, the current minister of defense, former chief of the IDF. I think it is getting very close to time for him to step away. And yeah, the point is well taken. Won't that simply play into the hands of the right wing? I don't think so. We won't know, Katie, until the Knesset comes back from its break, probably toward the end of September. So we've got a month to continue to watch this bubble.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We'll watch and see what happens next. Coming up, how the high costs of everyday living may impact voters' choices, especially in critical swing states like Wisconsin. You're watching MSNBC.
I own a lot of businesses, so my tech and my network need to keep up. Thank you, Verizon Business.
Now our businesses get fast and reliable internet from the same network that powers our phones.
So whatever's next, we're cooking with fire.
Switch to the partner businesses rely on.
Recipes. Recipes that are more than their ingredients. Recipes written by hand and lost to time can now be analyzed and restored using the power of Dell AI, preserving memories and helping to write new ones.
They get it. They know how it works. And most importantly, it works for them.
I don't have any anxiety about money anymore.
I don't have to worry about a mortgage payment every month.
It allowed me to live in my home and not have to pay payments.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, you could access a portion of your equity to improve your lifestyle. A reverse mortgage loan can eliminate your monthly mortgage payments and put tax-free cash in your pocket.
It was the best thing I've ever done. And
Really?
Yes, without a doubt.
These folks know. Finance of America can show you how a reverse mortgage loan uses your built-up home equity to give you tax-free cash.
It's a good thing.
So look, why don't you get the facts like these folks did and see if a reverse mortgage could work for you?
Call Finance of America and get your free info kit.
Call 800-963-9445.
We planned well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
You think those two have any idea that they can sell their life insurance policy for cash, so they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue.
That's crazy.
Well, not everyone knows Coventry's helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies.
I can't believe they're just sitting up there.
Sitting on all this cash.
If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell all or part of it to Coventry, even a term policy, for cash or a combination of cash and coverage with no future premiums.
Someone needs to tell them that they're sitting on a gold mine and you have no idea. Hey guys, you're sitting on a gold mine. Come on,
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-459-2600 or visit CoventryDirect.com. I cried. Should I? And I am lost and I can't
Punch Buggy Red.
even say why.
I own a lot of businesses, so my tech and my network need to keep up. Thank you, Verizon Business.
Now our businesses get fast and reliable internet from the same network that powers our phones.
So whatever's next, we're cooking with fire.
Switch to the partner businesses rely on.
I have a structured settlement and I call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call 877-CASH now to get a $100 gift card for a free quote.
Get this thing off of me! You still haven't broken up with bad bras and gone to honeylove.com? Take your current torture device of a bra. It in no way fits your body, and the underwire stabs me constantly. Not anymore, thanks to Honeylove. Wow, there's no spillage and no gap. And there's no underwire. Don't take it from me. Look at all these 5-star reviews. Women everywhere are breaking up with bad bras.
Shop the Labor Day sale. Offer ends September 2nd.
Wisconsin is must win. J.D. Vance is in Perry tonight. Donald Trump will be in La Crosse tomorrow. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were in Milwaukee last week, smack dab in the middle of their Chicago convention. All of the candidates would do well to focus on, no surprise here, the economy. A New York Times Siena poll of likely voters in Wisconsin shows it is their most important issue. Joining us now, Ben Wickler, chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, the economy, big and broad. What specifically?
Well, the question is who's fighting for working families, for the middle class, and who's fighting for the rich? And it's pretty clear. If you look at each of their plans and what they have said at their convention and everywhere else, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz understand the middle class because they're from it. They're going to fight to bring down costs from groceries to childcare to defending and expanding Social Security and Medicare and fighting to bring down prescription drug costs and so much more. And Trump and Vance, they're on the side of their billionaire buddies. And their plan is to cut taxes for the ultra wealthy and then set off an inflation bomb to raise costs for middle class families. So if you're a billionaire, maybe vote for Trump if that's all you care about. If you're anybody else, Harris and Walz is pretty clearly your ticket.
CNBC does an analysis every year of the best and worst states for business. This year, Wisconsin was ranked 31st. For the economy. It's a D+ grade, 25th in the nation for business friendliness, a C+. But on the upside, the cost of living was given a B+, or 10th in the nation. Is there something that Kamala Harris can propose that will elevate those grades?
Absolutely. And she's got a whole raft of proposals. Wisconsin, we have a great governor. We have a state legislature that rigged our legislative maps so that they could make sure that no bills could pass through the legislature that would actually work for working people for the last 12 years. This year, we have a chance to flip our state assembly and break the Republican supermajority in our state Senate. And that means at last we can do in our state what Kamala Harris is proposing nationally to bring down the cost of childcare, to support unions and working families, to make it easier to start and launch and run a small business. We've had record-breaking small business creation, which is great, but we have a lot more to do. And that's why we're organizing up and down the ballot in Wisconsin from state legislative districts like the one I'm in northern Wisconsin, which is going to flip from a red gerrymandered district to a blue one this November. I'm very confident, all the way to Senator Tammy Baldwin statewide and the presidential race. There's a ton to do to reorient our economy towards the middle class, towards working families that are working not just to get by, but to get ahead. And we know that the economy grows from the middle out and the bottom up. That's what's at stake in this election. That's what we need Harris, Walz, a Democratic House and Senate, and a Democratic State Assembly in Wisconsin to be able to do.
I live there in northern Wisconsin. It looks like it's super lovely right now. I'm going to ask you about metrics. I know you guys have seen a flood of volunteers coming on since Kamala Harris got not the nomination, but was chosen as the successor for Joe Biden. Is there another metric? Have you been able to watch the registering of voters, or how many voters have been registered and which parties they belong to in the time since Harris was put atop of the ticket?
So every metric that we can track, everything that we can measure in Wisconsin has been going up for Harris, Walz, and for Democrats. We don't have partisan voter registration in Wisconsin. You just register to vote as a voter. But we had an election, a statewide election on a referendum that the gerrymandered Republican legislature tried to put through to grab power away from Governor Evers. Those referenda, those constitutional amendments usually just sail through. 12 of the last 13 have passed. We defeated this one in a 15-point landslide with the highest turnout in an August election in Wisconsin in a presidential year in 60 years. So we can see it in votes. We can see it in volunteers. We've had 42,000 sign up, which is more than twice Biden's margin of victory in Wisconsin from 2020. We can see it in donations, social media engagement. We see it everywhere we look. And this is key because Wisconsin is still incredibly close. It's gone a lot. The Democratic ticket has gone up a lot in the polling, which means it's probably within a point right now, which means 2 or 3 votes per precinct, wherever you are in the state, is going to determine the outcome of the presidential election here. That's why we're asking folks to go to wisdems.org and volunteer and donate. That's why we're hiring right now. We have more than 260 staff on the ground in Wisconsin, 48 offices, but we're going to need more, every ounce of energy we can muster to win on Election Day.
Let me ask you about how close it is. You're talking about a point. There are some other folks that are going to be on the ballot that could sway things if it is truly very close. Jill Stein is going to be on the ballot. RFK Jr. will still be on the ballot, even though he's suspending his campaign. Cornel West as well. Are they going to be spoilers?
Well, elections in Wisconsin, 4 of the last 6 have come down to less than 1 percentage point. That means everything can matter enormously. The question for every voter, for every activist, everyone who's concerned about whether we wind up with Project 2025 or wind up with a ticket devoted to freedom, to opportunity, and to building toward the future is how can they make sure that more people turn out and vote for Harrison Walz? That's the only way to defeat Trump. It's clear that either Trump and Vance or Harrison Walz is going to win in our state. So if you're concerned about what actually happens after this election, whether in the spring of 2025 we pass national voting rights legislation, we pass the Protecting the Right to Organize bill, we pass the protections for abortion access, the Women's Health Protection Act, which Senator Tammy Baldwin is the author of. If you want those things to pass, it's got to be a vote for Harrison Walz and spreading the message. There's really 2 choices in terms of the outcome of this race. And I think for every voter in Wisconsin, you have to recognize the consequences of your actions and work accordingly with every moment that you've got.
Ben Wickler, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Coming up next, how the major legal and political developments in the last 24 hours will impact the presidential race. With the debate now just 13 days away, if there is a debate. You're watching MSNBC.
Every day, dirt and grime settles deep within your tile's grout lines. Stanley Steamer's powerful custom-made equipment removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your tile and grout isn't clean until it's Stanley Steamer Clean.
It's your home cleaner. You founded your kayak company because you love the ocean, not spreadsheets. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
I wish my TV provider let me choose what I pay for. I wish my TV provider let me choose what I pay for and let me pause my subscription when I want. Sling lets you do that.
Choose and customize your channel lineup or watch for free. Sling lets you do that.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day's start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death, too.
Serious side effects may include ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of infection in your legs or feet. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
Lawmakers are trying to shut down Planned Parenthood. The health care of more than 2 million people is at stake.
Our right to basic reproductive health care is being stolen from us. Planned Parenthood believes everyone deserves health care. It's a human right. Future generations are beginning to lose the rights we fought for. The rights for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids. Gone, just like that.
I can't believe this is the world we live in, where we're losing the freedom to control our own bodies.
Last year, politicians in 47 states introduced bills that would block people from getting the sexual and reproductive care they need. Where does it end? Planned Parenthood fights for you every day. but we need your support now more than ever. Visit this website, call, or scan the code on your screen with your $19 monthly gift. Help us win the fight for the constitutional right to control our own bodies.
Truly, if Planned Parenthood had not stepped in, I would not be here today. They saved my life.
Your support is urgent. Our rights and the rights of future generations are at risk, and lives are at risk.
And that's why we have to keep fighting in every state, everywhere.
Donate $19 a month or whatever you can afford, and you'll help us fight against laws that block care and take away our rights.
We fight to make sure everyone and anyone can get the care they need.
But we need your help, and there's never been a more urgent time to join. So go online, call, or scan this code now. Sign up with your monthly gift today, and we'll send you this Care No Matter What t-shirt.
It is your right to have safe health care. That's it.
We won't give up, and we won't back down.
We need you now more than ever. Go online, call, or scan right now.
It's time. Yes, the time has come for a fresh approach to dog food. Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time to quit the kibble and feed their dogs fresh food from the farmer's dog. Made by vets and delivered right to your door, precisely portioned for your dog's needs. It's an idea whose time has come.
Why did we choose Safelite? We were loading our SUV when crack. Safelite came right to us, and we could see exactly when they'd arrive with a replacement we could trust.
Schedule free mobile service at Safelite.com.
Safelite repair, Safelite replace.
13 days until Donald Trump and Kamala Harris face off in their first debate. And while Donald Trump is very much a known quantity, VP Kamala Harris still has room to define herself and her policies, which is why her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, is urging people today to tune in a couple weeks.
Things that are said on that debate stage are going to impact your retirement. They're going to impact your kids' education. They're going to impact infrastructure. These are things that matter to us.
That was Wallace speaking to the International Association of Firefighters in Boston this morning. Joining us now, Victoria DeFrancesco Soto, Dean of the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas, and Brendan Buck, former communications advisor for Speakers Ryan and Boehner. Okay, so the debate. We believe the debate will happen. Donald Trump is known, Victoria. He's completely known. What does Kamala Harris need to do in this debate, which presumably will be watched by quite a few people?
Yes, record numbers. She has to remain calm. What she does best is prosecute the case, right? Prosecute the case why a Donald Trump administration would wreak havoc on the country going forward, highlighting and reminding the American public what happened during the Trump administration. You know, I think right now, Donald Trump likes to cast that the economy was booming, that everything was fantastic, that his 4 years were marquee. But that's not the case. So I think it's reminding the public, but also keeping that cool. It's about the vibe as well, that this is a woman that is in control, that is trustworthy, and acting the part of I am the commander-in-chief.
Kamala Harris, as I understand it, and Donald Trump have never spoken to each other before. I think she's only been in the room with him for a State of the Union. They don't know each other. Clinton and Trump knew each other. Biden and Trump knew each other. They had been in the same rooms. They'd had conversations. I'm thinking back to the debates with Hillary Clinton, Brendan, where Donald Trump was kind of stalking her, standing back, and was always behind her when they were doing the town hall debate, or constantly interrupting her, calling her a puppet. You're the puppet, that back and forth. How does Kamala Harris prepare for someone like Donald Trump? Is it an advantage or a disadvantage to not really know him the way that the others did?
I don't know if it's a disadvantage, but I think what she needs to do is recognize that Donald Trump thrives by pulling people down into the mud with him. His goal is to, pull you down, get you into a verbal spat, and make people just disgusted with the entire system. And I imagine that's why his campaign, or her campaign, excuse me, was trying to keep the the microphones on so that people can see what he's trying to do there. She needs to maintain that level of optimism. She gave an incredible speech at the convention that really tried to turn the page on not just Donald Trump, but the last era of politics, and it presented her as the challenger in a way, even though she is the sitting vice president. If she can say, look, Donald Trump is the past. I'm not interested in getting into a tit for tat with you. I'm going to talk to the country and stay optimistic. That's a home run. If she ends up having a bunch of verbal spars with him, I think that just reminds us and depresses everybody of the era that they're all trying to turn the page on.
Victoria, you're in Ruby Red, Arkansas. Have you seen anything change or anything that Kamala Harris can do to make things change even a little bit in a place like that?
Well, I think in all states that are decidedly red is the question of mobilization, right? So the likelihood of a state like this flipping is low, but you also want to see the growth across electoral cycles. And really that's the goal for the Democrats, like here and in Texas and in other red states. And what you have seen in the past couple of weeks is a tremendous amount of enthusiasm with Democrats here in Arkansas, Democrats who very much were feeling disenchanted. They're already feeling disenchanted given their political context, and then looking at the national context as well. But this has been a shot in the arm for folks here to see this energy and, to Brandon's point, to see this optimism. So I think in terms of mobilization and in terms of getting people to register to vote, to get engaged, it's a long game in politics. This is a really key piece of what we've seen with the Kamala Harris candidacy.
Are Republicans there enchanted with Donald Trump the way that they used to be?
Is that for me?
No, it's for Victoria in Arkansas, there.
I mean, there's a very deep love for President Bill Clinton, so everything's going to be measured against that. But I think that base of love for the Democratic roots, for what the Democratic Party stands for, in terms of that leveling the playing field for working families, for making folks be able to make ends meet, that is core here. So she's able to boost up that enthusiasm.
All right, Brendan, the one I wanted to hand to you was this confrontation that Donald Trump or his staffers had at Arlington National Cemetery. There was apparently a conflict, some sort of altercation between staffers and cemetery officials when Trump was trying to take a photographer into Section 60, which doesn't allow any sort of videoing or photographing for campaign purposes. This is a story that they tried to get out ahead of, or tried to fight back pretty forcefully on, saying that it was just a mentally ill worker trying to stop them. Do you see this as something that they might be worried about getting out?
Perhaps the way that they're acting. Look, I can't imagine that Donald Trump would have shown up for this event if he were not running for president. Look, he has shown time and time again that he doesn't have a lot of respect for our military service members or the fallen. I think a lot of us were scratching our head at how this event sort of came together and what they were up to and why they were there and why they were allowed to be doing this. Look, if he got into a fight with somebody in that hallowed ground, I think a lot of people would like to know about that, and I expect we're going to continue to hear more about it. I think reporters are digging into this. It's pretty disgraceful the way he's talked about our veterans, so it would not surprise me at all if they were doing things that they knew they shouldn't be doing, and frankly, I will just say they shouldn't have been doing there.
And again, the video you saw there is not of Section 60. That's the Tomb of the Unknown soldier. He's laying a wreath. Oftentimes there are cameras there to tape what happens. All right, Brendan Buck, Victoria, Francesco Soto, sorry. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And before we go, on Saturday, September 7th, join me at MSNBC Live Democracy 2024, our premier fan event in Brooklyn, New York, where you will hear thought-provoking conversations as we get closer and closer to November. Scan the QR code, do it quickly on your screen, or go to msnbc.com/democracy2024 to buy tickets. That does it for this edition of Andrea Mitchell Reports. Remember to follow the show on social media at Mitchell Reports. I will see you right back here at 3 p.m. Eastern. Chris Jansing picks up our coverage after a short break.
The UPS store is more than just a